back, everyone. This week's Picture of the Week is being brought to you by Flowers Garden Center. I'm not going to say gear processing because I'm already antsy about that, but Garden Center, and they're telling me April Fool's Day. Guys, you got to get over there and make Mama's yard look good so you can go more fishing for you. Hey, this picture here, our first picture here is, this is Keith Ray. And Keith Ray said, Hugh, I had to show this was a great weekend for me. I got 2 in one weekend. So great picture there, Keith. We appreciate that very much. And that is one happy Tennessee hunter right there. I want to show you some other pictures here. This is Justin Clark. Justin Clark is a friend of Tanner Hale, and he's one of his partners in all the tournaments. Justin does really well. He took this out when all of us were carrying around umbrellas, and I'm not talking about an umbrella rig. I'm just talking about umbrellas. Justin went out there and went fishing, and look here on Old Hickory Lake, 2 very nice ones right here. So awesome job there. Hey, you can send your pictures to us here at Southern Woods and Water, 474 James Robinson Parkway, Nashville, Tennessee, 37219, or simply email them to me at hugh@southernwoodsandwaters.com. We'll get them on here really fast for you. All right, tonight we are talking to Jeff Hill with Mad Dad Lures, and Jeff is an awesome friend of mine, a brother in Christ, and just a great friend. And he has invented some swim baits that I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, these are the most realistic swim baits I've ever seen. And Jeff, you know, Joy, my wife, has a pool, and I have a test pond.
Oh, my goodness. You get to really
put
look
them
at
in there, and boy, I tell you what, it looks just like a regular fish in there.
Oh, yeah, it does.
And that's what I think we've got to get back to, is making sure things look real.
That's true.
So that they'll react. The reports I'm getting from Bubba Graves and from Tanner Hale and from Dayton Blair and Jimbo Blair, and the list just keeps going on and on and on. They're engulfing these swim baits.
They are. They're totally swallowing it.
Casey Martin told me he had to pull them out of the goozle, and we call it a goozle.
Oh, yeah.
He had a gullet, but he had to pull the bait out of the gullet. He had already swallowed it past the throat.
Yeah, they're totally just killing it.
And so, you know, and we're not talking about small fish either. We're talking, we're talking 6, 7, 8 pounders here.
Yeah, we are.
Now, that's not to say that a small fish won't hit it. You know, you're going to catch some 2 pounders. You're going to catch 3 pounders. You're going to get some over-anxious pounders.
Well, that's true. That's true. Eat. You know, there's a lot of people. I mean, you know, you show this to a lot of guys, and they say, "Man, what are you going to catch on that thing?"
Yeah.
But you know, you got to think about it. Look at how many bass that you see chasing shad. That's way longer than that.
Oh, yeah.
Way bigger than that. You know,
how many times have you been out on a lake and a bass has tried to swallow a white bass that's half his size, or a crappie that's
true.
3/4 of his size, but he's trying to get him on? I've had to release them and let them go.
That's very true.
You know, they just sit there on top of the water and flop around, but that's to prove that bass will go after a big meal.
Oh, yeah, they will.
Just as easily.
Yeah.
And more than likely hit a big meal instead of a smaller meal.
That's true. That's true. I think a lot of times, you know, we was talking about this A-rig a while ago, and I wanted to bring this back up. I mean, because I think it makes a lot of difference on this issue of what size of blades you got on this thing compared to what size of baits. Because if you don't get the right blade on this A-rig to match the water that's coming off of this bait, they ain't gonna eat it. A lot of times in the wintertime, you know, you'll have a small bait, maybe something like, you know, this here that's a 4-inch.
A 4-inch.
All right, but you don't want this big blade on there with that 4-inch. You want to go to a real small Colorado blade.
Okay.
About the same size as the tail on this bait, and you're going to put off about the same water vibration. And it's going to make a whole lot of difference. You know, I see a lot of bass a lot of times on Gunnersville There ain't no telling us how many times I've seen 6, 7 pounders follow that A-rig right to the boat, have their nose stuck right up in the middle of that thing, and not take it. And it's simply because something wasn't right.
Yeah, the fish is telling you, I'm not biting this.
Exactly. Either your blades are too big or your blades are too small. It's not matching the hatch that you have on the back of that rig. You know, so I know, it's just a tip there. I know that it's very important that, I know there's a lot of you out there that fish A-rigs, and I just think it's very important that you match that bait to that, you know.
Don't overstep it.
No, You know, I think you want to match it.
If you're going to do anything, just match it.
Yeah, just match the vibration of what you know. You can look at the tail. I mean, if you had, say for instance, you had 5 of these on there.
Oh.
You know, but this is something, you know, that you're going to want with that size of blade.
Right. You want a bigger blade.
Yeah, you are. You're going to want a big blade, like probably a number 4, you know, willow leaf. You know, on that rig to match this. Where that way it's real, and he sticks his nose in there and swims. He's around enough bait fish, you know, that's his life.
That's right.
You know, it's his home. So I mean, he knows how much water should be moving, you know, away from that bait. That's my theory. I might be wrong about it, but I know that a lot of times I've had big fish swim in the middle of that, pull that rig off, put one on with maybe the same size of bait, but littler blades, and just tear them up. You know, and it's like, that was the thing right
you know,
there.
I hadn't thought about that. That is a great tip, though. I mean, if you're not getting hit on the A-rig or Tennessee rig,
right,
try downsizing a little bit on the blades.
Exactly, to try to match that bait.
And try to match that bait. Man, that is awesome. That's worth its weight in gold right there, because a lot of people will just throw this thing all day because they heard Doc Talk said
exactly
they're on a Tennessee rig or they're on an A rig, so they just make one up and throw it out there. But
that's true.
You got to entice him. Still have to entice him to hit.
You do. You know, you got to put your mind in there with it.
Yeah.
You know, and think, you know, oh my goodness, you know, he just followed that thing to the boat and I missed him. You know, you see that happen throughout a day, an 8-hour period, 2 times. Yeah. You know something's wrong. You know, you ain't matching something there.
So if it walks like a duck, it talks like a duck, but it has a tail like a dog, it's probably a dog.
That's it. You got it.
So it's probably not a duck.
You got it.
So, and that's a great idea that in what you're saying. And now they can also play with even using a bigger willow leaf or something like that, something that will stir a little bit more water.
True, that is very true. And another step to that too is, you know, in the wintertime, they're going to be chasing a lot of gizzard shad. You know, you see, you know, when you get up shallow in a lake and you look down and see the size of those bait fish, you know, some of them make that thing look little. I mean, you know, but I'm just saying,
gizzard shad on Guntersville that was 14, 15 inches long.
Oh yeah,
Biggest.
Yeah. You know, and I think, and then if you know, you're going to know what they're feeding on to know what color to go with. Lots of times, especially if you're just in, you know, not real dirty water, but you know, you're going to know where to go with what color.
I want to use the tip later in the show that Casey Martin gave you about colors. Okay. We got to talk about that.
We
all
will.
Right?
That sounds good.
We got to talk about that. I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, we got some great stuff here. I want to show you. Bring out some of the smaller ones, because I still say that even right now, Percy Priest, you know, Percy Priest, Old Hickory Lake, some of the shad, we've got Soul Bloom and Mini shad.
That's true.
That they're kind of in all different stages.
That's true.
Do you need to try and find out what stage the shad are in for the active bass?
Yeah, well, they're going to show you. I mean, you know, if you're there, and all you got to do is look at what they're chasing.
Yeah.
You know what
they're. Have we got it? Can we get a close up? Did we get a close up of this? You got to see this thing. This is your 4-inch.
It is.
That's a 4-inch. This is a great little bait.
Unbelievable
awesome
action.
Now let me tell you, I'm not going to say that it's just for bass, because you catch walleye and sauger and everything else on this. The great thing about this thing, and look, it passes the test of the swim bait test here. But you know what? Dayton showed me that you can put this thing, you can take it, spike it in chartreuse garlic, and you can dip that tail in there, and it makes a world of difference.
It does. It does. Especially, you know, that's the good thing about it using a white bait or a pearl. You know, if you get somewhere on the lake and it's a little bit dingier water, you know, just spike the tail.
Yeah.
And you're right back in the game.
Action again. They're in action. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we got to go and visit our product of the week, but we wanted to tell you real quick that we were at the Tennessee Boat and Fishing Show where we shot this product of the week. So sit back and enjoy it. We'll be right back. Hey everybody, we're here at the Tennessee Boat and Fishing Show, and with me I've got this new product, Duramax. All right, what's your name?
My name is Jim Brewer. I'm the creator of Duramax. I created it actually for myself, for the comfort, and got bad knees and bad ankles, and I wanted something for that. So my wife and I got together and we created this. It's a 3/8-inch neoprene closed cell foam, and you can put it right over the top of the existing carpet. We have Velcro to help hold it down. We tuck it into recessed areas and put screws. We put it in, tuck it down into the boxes that also help
Normally
hold
your
it.
rod box is over here.
Right. And we tuck it down in there so you have a smooth transition to the rest of the deck where you're not tripping over it or anything like that.
Now this just goes over your existing carpet that you already have in your boat, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, are you boat friendly for every type of boat?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can put it on any boat.
Any boat. Okay. All right.
We can, if a customer wants to, we can take up the old carpet and glue it down. Just like you would normal carpet.
All right. Now here is just what we call just like a pad.
I call it. That is a mini mat. That's the name of that
mini
right
mat.
there. What I did here is I've cut a notch in it to show its versatility. That you can put it anywhere. You can put it in the front and cut it out for your recess. You can cut a hole, put your pedestal in. It originally was for somebody in the back of the boat.
Right.
So they can.
They can have the pad too.
And a lot of people don't have boats that fish with other guys, and they're the co-angler, and that way they can have padding in anybody's boat. And
all right.
And you can,
great idea, great product. How can they get a hold of you?
Well, you can call us 931-320-0607, or we have our website, which is www.duramax.net, and we also have an email address, which right this second I can't think of.
That's okay, but we can send them to your website.
Yes, sir. You can go to the website.
We're going to also put a link to our website at southernwoodsandwaters.com, so you can simply go on southernwoodsandwaters.com, click on their Duramax. We'll have their web link up there on ours. So check them out. I promise you, ladies and gentlemen, when you start aches and pains in your knees and joints, you're going to wish you had one of these. All right, we're taking it back to studio for more of Southern Woods and Waters. All right, great job there. I appreciate that. The Duramax are really, really nice. You got to give them a shout out and tell them how much you like it, or just examine the product. Hey, also, I want to ask a big favor of all the viewers out there. Please go on your computers, go on Facebook, and like Southern Woods and Waters Facebook page. You're going to find a whole lot of stuff there that's good information about things that have happened in the past and things that we're going to be talking about in the future. So check us out at Southern Woods and Waters on your Facebook page. Hey, we got to take a break. We got to visit some more of our fine sponsors. We'll be right back with more of Southern Woods and Waters.